Good evening, everyone. We'll call the meeting to order and begin with our land acknowledgement statement. We acknowledge that the ground on which we live is the traditional territory of Caldwell First Nation, of the Three Fires Confederacy, and the original people of Point Pelee and Pelee Island and its surrounding lands and waters, and that of the Huron-Wendat and Wyandot peoples. We recognize and respect the First Nations who are stewards of the land and waters of Turtle Island and who have embraced this stewardship since time immemorial. We would also like to acknowledge the contributions of other nearby First Nation communities and all original people across Turtle Island. We will now have a moment of silent reflection, followed by the playing of our national anthem. Please stand for the playing of the national anthem. If we can get an adoption of the agenda dated August 12th, 2025. Moved by Councilor Richo Spagnolo, support by Deputy Mayor Capata. All in favor? And that carries. Any disclosures of pecuniary interest? None. The adoption of our minutes of the regular meeting of council held July 22nd, 2025, and the special closed meeting of council held July 24th, 2025 be adopted as presented. Moved by Councilor Burns, support by Councilor Reno. All in favor? And that carries. Mayor's comments. We have a few tonight, and I wanted to start off by recognizing someone who has been part of the town for a very long time. So part of our family, we will say, because it's been 33 years. And this will be the last time that Alan Burgess presents at a council meeting. So we want to thank Alan for his time and commitment to the town of LaSalle and wish you the very best in retirement, whether that's vacationing, staycationing, or whatever it is, whatever you love to do. We really hope you enjoy your retirement, and thank you for everything you've done for the town. This past weekend, I had the honor of representing LaSalle at Caldwell First Nations, I'd say their first powwow. They've had one before, but this was the first time they had a powwow on the sacred land since it's been returned to them. And it was a very powerful and meaningful day. And I also want to thank members of administration. We had Ms. Finero, Ms. Hadre, who also joined me that day to enjoy in those celebrations and be able to connect and enjoy some of their traditions, as well as grow as individuals and to learn. So I look forward to building those relationships with Caldwell and appreciate the invitation that they gave us to join them. On Sunday, members of council joined LaSalle Stompers as they presented the very first bursary in honor of our late councilor, Sue Desjardins. It was a beautiful moment, made even more special by the unveiling of a permanent plaque at the fields where Sue spent lots of her time volunteering. So thank you to the Stompers for creating that bursary and remembering Councilor Desjardins. With that, I do want to take a moment to wish our local sports teams the best of luck as they do wrap up their seasons. This was the last weekend for the Stompers, and I think Turtle Club was the weekend before, maybe. But the travel teams are just getting ready to wrap up their season, so wishing everybody a good luck in your final weeks. Next week, members of council will be heading to Ottawa for the AMO conference. It's a chance for us to learn, share ideas, meet with members of parliament to advocate for the needs of our community, and so I look forward to that. On a more serious note, we do have an open air fire burn ban. If I said that right, I feel like I said it wrong. But we have declared an open air fire ban effective immediately due to the dry conditions. All forms of open air fires are prohibited in the town of LaSalle until further notice, including campfires, chimeneas, outdoor fireplaces, fire pits, brush fires, and agricultural fires. And if you want more information on that, visit our website or reach out to the fire department. But fines will be given if you do violate the open air fire ban. And finally, just a quick reminder to everyone, last call before fall event tickets are on sale now, and I was told Saturday's already half sold out. So visit our website for more information and purchase those tickets before they're gone. And that's all I have for today. I know I sent that to you. No public meetings or hearings, presentations and delegations, none this evening as well. And then we go into our staff reports and correspondence. Item 1 is additional work at LaSalle Landing, the LaSalle Loop structure tent, and I'm going to turn it over to our Deputy CAO, Mr. Amara, for the presentation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I am working on trying to share my screen to give Council some visuals on what's being presented tonight. So the report is geared towards getting Council's approval to proceed with some extra work at the LaSalle Loop. As Council is aware, the previous design had a permanent building as part of the skate trail. And so that building was meant to provide warmth in the winter and cooling in the summer. Obviously, that building did not get built. It's quite extensive in a budget, and it didn't fit within our budget, and it's not planned to be built within the next 5 years. It doesn't fit within any of the budgets. So what we're proposing to bring forward is a temporary structure tent. And this is something that is available, and it's a 30 by 60 tent. And this is an interim solution that will last us about 5 to 8 years in the area. It's not just a tent, it's a number of other work. So up on the screen, you can kind of see where the work is geared. So what's highlighted in red is where the work will occur. So that what you see up there is the existing pavilion and concrete and trail. That will all be removed. The next image will show you what's being proposed to be replaced there. And so circled in red kind of shows you how it ties into the proposed work. So the entire area will be reworked. There is additional trail connections to provide accessibility down to the straight skate trail from the structure tent. And again, it's a 30 by 60 structure tent. As part of this work, it's not just the structure tent and some asphalt work. There is some mechanical and electrical work to be done. We will be providing hydro for there. At an upcoming Culture and Rec meeting, next Culture and Rec meeting, you'll be hearing a presentation regarding the skate loaning program. The proposed work will support the skate loaning program. Without this, we'll have to review how we deal with the skate loaning program. But again, that is part of a future report coming forward at the next Culture and Rec meeting, which is in 2 weeks from now. So this is what's being proposed. I will show you an image of the structure. So this is what our structure tent will look like. Again, it's 30 by 60. It's mostly clear vinyl sides. There are 3 panels that are solid. That's where the back of the house mechanical equipment and electrical equipment will go. There's 3 sets of doors on it that will allow people to go in and out. So this is what a winter setup will look like. Summer setup, the walls, those side panels will come down, and it will just be the structure and the roof. So in the summertime, it will act like a 30 by 60 covered pavilion. In the wintertime, heater will be installed, mechanical equipment will be installed, and it will be warm and provide warmth inside. In addition to this, there's an additional amount of rubber because we expect that people will be walking into here with skates on, so we'll be covering the entire floor with rubber in the wintertime. So that is what's being proposed. This just gives you image from the structure tent brochure of what structure tents actually look like and where they're actually used. So they're used in a number of different situations for temporary structures, both in winter and in summer. I think Madam Mayor referred to Campus Martius Park as one location. The City of Windsor actually uses one at Jackson Park for their Christmas lights. That was installed last year, so they had one of these structure tents there as well. So they are quite common. We are looking to proceed with an extra work as part of the current contract with Valente Contracting. As you can see, the work ties into a lot of significant work that was already done. In order to avoid warranty issues, that we don't want to stumble over each other, because there's a lot of electrical work that was already installed by Valente Contracting. So they will extend that electrical work so we don't stumble over warranty issues, and it'll be the same contractor, so there'll be no warranty issues, and there's a lot of tie-ins with respect to the work. So the estimated cost is about $350 to $380 plus taxes for this additional work. It will be funded from the waterfront reserve. It has been reviewed with a number of other departments that are involved with this. So with this, we're looking for council's approval to proceed with this additional work as part of an extra for Valente Contracting, and we'll bring this forward as soon as we can to have it ready for the winter season. With that, I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Members of council, do you have any questions or comments? Deputy Mayor Capata?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to the Deputy CAO. The lifespan of the tent, the survivability of the tent, I too have been to Campus Martius and have spoken, luckily, with some of the staff there. Do you anticipate a time when that tent would come down and could be put somewhere else, or is this exclusively a one-time deal to be used there? That's my first question, sir.
From what we understand, the structural members are aluminum, so the structural members will not have to be replaced. Over the years, the vinyl panels will weather, but those can be replaced. So once we purchase this and we no longer need it here, we can use this other places, and so it will become part of our inventory, and it can be moved and set up elsewhere. Once we have the mechanical equipment, we can use it in the wintertime as well. So there is opportunities to reuse this in the future. We may have to replace panels every now and then because they are fabric panels, and through wind loading and sun and UV, they will probably deteriorate over time, but we understand it's an 8 to 10 year life cycle on those panels.
Thank you, sir. A supplemental. I would assume that eventually we'd like to have a permanent structure as we'd proposed there. And I guess if you're able to speak to a potential timeline, and I realize I'm not holding you to any cost, I'm just suggesting when you think we might be able to anticipate something coming forward to us about a permanent structure, sir.
Your question is timely. We will be back to council during budget process to explain and outline all the remaining work at the LaSalle Landing. That will fold into that timeline, but certainly there are a lot of things that need to be done, a lot of little things that will really work well out there. So we'll be bringing something back to council at budget time to see what the outstanding work is and things of that nature, with some timing on those and some protected costs at this time. Again, as we go through the years, those costs will continue to be updated. But certainly it's not within the next five-year time frame, because there are a number of other things to be done. And with this, that will buy us that time to be able to not have to do something over there.
And the last one, Your Worship, just to make sure I understand, Deputy CAO, is that because Valente would be doing the work, the extension of warranties and the guarantees that we have for the property and for all the work that would be done would be tied directly into this, and therefore the town would not be placed in a position of potential liability if something was to happen to the structure or the work that's been done already?
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you, Worship. Those are my questions.
Do you have any further questions?
Thank you. Through you, I did want to ask the same question regarding the warranty, but I will support this. I do believe that in order to enhance the visits at the waterfront, whether it's the shade for the summer or the heat for the winter, I do think this is a good investment in order to, again, enhance the experience for the residents and visitors for the town. So I will support.
Councillor Burns?
Through your worship to Deputy CEO, the hill behind the bank is roughly where this is going to go, and will that hill be gone? No, it's going to be further down or further up? Could you maybe just explain the location to me? Please and thank you.
Certainly. The hill behind the bank remains. This is actually going to go right in place of where the existing pavilion is. So there's an existing pavilion, metal pavilion. That metal pavilion is going to come down, the concrete is going to be pulled out, and we're going to create a new pad at that exact same location, so it's just going to go right there. The hill remains. That's part of a future phase and future works.
Why wouldn't we take that hill out? It's only filled with concrete. So we're there, we're doing the work, we're eventually going to do it. You have the trucks. I don't know how much it would add to the project, but it'd be nice to see it gone with the St. Mary's Academy cement. At least part of it. Thank you.
Certainly, that is something that we can do, but given today's regulations on excess soils and how we have to deal with it, we might as well leave that in place at this point in time and deal with it later on as a future phase with respect to whatever gets built in that particular area at some point in time in the future.
Thank you.
Councillor Reno.
Thank you, Your Worship. My question is for Mr. Langlois. First of all, I appreciate everything that the Deputy CAO has put into this project. You know, we've had some changes of staff over the years, and he's really taken lead in the entire loop and LaSalle Landing project, and it seems like everything you bring to us is a great feature. My only concern is now, years ago, we set up a financial plan, and we said every year we're going to, you know, notch out a little bit and put away money for this project. And we've spent money, and we have a lot of features that keep coming to us, $300,000, $500,000 at a time. I'm just wondering where we are with our plan, if we have money left in that reserve, and how this could potentially affect our future needs and timelines. I understand something more details coming at budgets, but just I need to know that we're still on plan and things are going well. I know that at budget sessions I have fought to continue to fund the landing, and I will continue to fight to fund the landing. I just want to make sure that everything's still clicking according to the clock.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're getting to the end of this phase. You know, there's always going to be changes. Like our original plan that we had when we first bought the land, we've changed from that original plan as different priorities come up. But we're nearing the end of this phase, and there is some items that we had in there that we hadn't completed, or we're going to defer a little bit. You know, we're looking at what we're going to do with the Benoit House and whatnot. So we do have a healthy reserve right now. It's $2.7 million, and we've done all of our reallocations out of the annual contribution to the reserve for the operating costs of the LaSalle Loop. So we are in good shape by spending this little bit of extra money. That's gonna, you know, we'll be fine. And then, as Mr. Mara mentioned, him and I have been working on, you know, some different items that are probably closer priority than some other items, so we're getting costs on that. We're working on updating our financial plan and projections, and then we're going to present that to council during the budget sessions.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that, and it does help me in the way that I very much appreciate how much coordination has happened with this tent, with Valente and getting all this stuff put together under a warranty program. I think that is something that we can't replace. My original thought was to maybe hold off for a year, but you know, when we lose all that intertwining work with the contractor, I think we lose a lot of the art of the deal. So I will support this project.
Thank you. One question I have is regarding the sidewalk and the new trail portion coming off of the parking lot near the boat ramp. Does that trail wrap around the exterior of the building to connect? Or it was hard to tell from the picture if the building went right to the back. So I just want to make sure that there wasn't access to get from that parking lot, because right now there isn't. And I'm glad we're pulling up that trail. I don't know if anyone has seen that trail recently, and it's in terrible condition, I think probably from the build. So ripping that out is great. Yeah, so I'm just trying to see, okay, so it comes off of the parking lot, and you're able to wrap around that back corner, and then it connects, right?
Yes, that is correct. It comes off the parking lot, so the existing trail is being replaced, comes over to where the pavilion is. It will come outside of the pavilion, wrap around where the structure tent is, wrap around where the structure tent is, and then it will have a gradual slope, an accessible slope that has to slope down, because again, that pavilion, the existing pavilion is quite high relative to the existing grade, so that is there. What you see in this particular area here, there is a concrete pad going in right there. That is proposed as the as what we are referring to as a Euro shed, which will house the skate loaning program. And again, you'll hear more about the skate loaning program. So it's all going to be contained within that one little area so that people who want to go loan skates, borrow skates, they can go there into the structure tent, put them on, walk on rubber all the way to the ice pad, and vice versa, walk back, and parents can sit in the pavilion and watch their children skate.
So the area that's kind of darker, kind of like a triangle, that's the connecting piece, and that's rubber?
Sorry, this triangle, you're talking about this
Yeah.
triangle here, that just represented, that's the brick paver area. That just represents the texture. So what you see in the gray shaded color is asphalt. That just represents what is brick paver. That's already been installed, so it will connect to the brick paver area that's out there.
So when we talk about rubber on the interior,
Yep,
there isn't rubber to connect, though, to the trail?
there is rubber that will go all the way down to the trail, yes. So that's part of the cost, additional cost. So there, I didn't provide, again, the detailed drawings get really detailed. There is rubber all the way from within the structure tent, right down to the skate trail.
And so the other question I have is, because you just said it yourself, the elevation of that cement pad where we're putting it is quite a bit higher than the pad in front that's currently there. Are we just doing some landscaping around the front so that people don't try to walk that way, or what is the plan there? Are we just gonna slope it and leave it as grass and hope people don't go there?
Right now, there is a stone retaining wall, those stone retaining walls stay. So that's represented by this and this. So those exist today, those will remain. It will be grass. Again, it's gentle enough that it's not a real big steep drop there. But certainly the asphalt will provide that accessibility and that proper accessible slope for anybody with mobility devices or things of that nature.
Perfect. Those were all my questions. I think it's a great addition, knowing that we can't do that permanent structure for many, many years. And we do have other focuses, and I think this will just only enhance the area. So I'm in favor of it as well. I think it's a great thing to have. So the recommendation that is in front of us this evening, which is that the report of the Deputy Chief Administrative Officer dated July 14th, 2025, regarding additional work at LaSalle Landing, LaSalle Loop Structure Tent be received, and that council approves with proceeding with the proposed work as an extra to the current contract with Valenti Contracting Incorporated. If we can either move that, or if someone has something else. Councillor Burns? Move. Support. Councillor Richo Spagnolo, all in favor? And that carries. Item 2, we have rescheduling the October 14th, 2025 council meeting. We have our Deputy Clerk, Linda Jean.
Thank you, Mayor Milosh. The report in front of you really outlines what we're requesting to change the date of the October 14th meeting to October 7th to accommodate for the by-election that is being held this October. We will be holding the Voter Help Center in Chambers, which runs from October 10th to October 20th. IT needs time to take down all the electronics, and operations needs time to move some of the furniture, so we'll need that day before to get that ready. So to continue with council business and to, have the prepare for the by-election, we're requesting that date be changed to October 7th. And I'm available for questions.
Thank you. Members of council, any questions? No questions? Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, it's 2 weeks after the meeting before. My original concern would be, would there be enough material? But it's still 2 weeks. There's lots of things that go on in LaSalle, so I support that.
Moved by Councillor Reno, support by Councillor Richo Spagnolo, all in favor? And that carries. Item 3 is the summary report for Bill 17, Protect Ontario by Building Faster and Smarter Act. I don't know how many times that name has changed. We have our Director of Planning, Gudrun Beggs. We have our Director of Finance, Dale Langlois, and one of you is presenting.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of council. This report is meant to provide members of council with some additional information regarding Bill 17 and some of the impacts to the legislation and how they impact our operation here in LaSalle. So the report is co-authored by Dale and myself, and we'll both be sharing information. I'm going to speak directly to the Planning Act amendments, and then I'll shoot it over to Dale, and he's going to address the development charge exemptions, or development charge amendments. And we really only crafted the report to speak to the amendments that affect LaSalle specifically. A lot of the amendments are really sort of GTA-centric and meant to apply to those identified large and fast-growing municipalities. So we focused really in the report and the presentation on those that will have an impact in LaSalle. So early on in May, the province introduced Bill 17, Protect Ontario by Building Smarter and Faster. And the goal of the bill was really to spearhead more housing starts, as that's sort of the political will and regime of the province currently. And they're proposing to do that through several amendments, which are mainly targeted at streamlining the planning approval process and making things easier for development to happen. So the bill proposed to change the following acts. I'm not going to read out all of them, but we're really here tonight to talk about certain changes to the Development Charges Act, the Planning Act, the Building Code Act. And Bill 17 received royal assent on June 5th of this year, so it wasn't open for commentary for very long. And a lot of the amendments are subject to future regulation that the province hasn't released yet. So while the amendments are in force and effect, we're waiting on a bunch of regs in order to really understand the impacts of what the changes mean. So limiting complete application requirements on the Planning Act. Bill 17 restricts the municipality's ability to require additional information beyond what is already identified in the town's official plan. So in every official plan document, municipalities outline different supporting background studies and reports that are intended to justify a development proposal. So the municipality is no longer able to ask for studies unless those specific studies are identified in their OP. This one doesn't particularly concern us. We have a pretty robust list of studies in our official plan, so I don't really anticipate this to be a specific issue. Qualified professionals report vis-a-vis complete application timing. So certain reports that are authored by qualified professionals are required to be accepted by the municipality as it relates to the completeness of the application. So under the legislation, when the municipality deems an application complete, that means something. And it actually means that the municipality has 120 days in order to issue a decision once having deemed the application complete. So if we receive reports that are authored by certain qualified professionals, which is subject to future regulation, but for example, it could be a professional engineer or a professional planner. If you receive a functional servicing study that's authored by a professional engineer or a planning justification study that's authored by a professional planner, we're required to accept those and not to necessarily question the legitimacy of them until we deem the application complete. So it just gets that clock starting faster to be able to render those decisions faster, to be able to get more Planning Act approvals faster and more homes in the ground. So it's just a bit of a loophole to be able to engage that clock a little sooner. Small change in zoning and site plan controls for schools. So Bill 17 restricts municipal OPs and zoning bylaws from prohibiting the use of urban land for elementary schools and secondary schools or accessory uses to such schools. Also, portables are no longer subject to site plan control. This one isn't really of particular concern either. Our official plan is really flexible in terms of locating school sites. We allow school sites already in quite a few designated areas, like the town center, and any residential district already allows a school. So no particular concern about the permissibility of that. And no particular issue with portables not going through site plan control either. Minor variance as of right setback variations. This one's a bit technical and a bit tricky to explain. So Bill 17 permits certain minor variances to minimum setback distances set out in the zoning bylaw as of right. Future implementing regulations will govern which zoning provisions these as-of-right permissions apply to. So what does that mean? We tried to put together a bit of a diagram to help illustrate it, and we don't exactly know what it means yet also, because we're waiting for the regulations to be released from the province, but what we surmise it to mean can be explained through the use of this diagram, which I'm going to try and zoom in on because it's very small. Okay. Okay, so there are certain permitted provisions in a zoning bylaw, like a front yard setback, a rear yard setback, a side yard setback. And these provisions allow a structure to be built so long as they are a certain distance setback from that yard. So this new amendment suggests that if the proponent comes forward and requests a reduced setback that is within 10% of that provision, then it's allowed as of right. So this figure illustrates that if the setback is 5 feet and the proponent comes in and says, I want to apply the 10% reduction, then as of right, they're allowed to go down to 4.5 feet without having to apply to the Committee of Adjustment. So the whole idea is that it reduces the number of applications going through the committee and accelerates those developments and those housing starts without requiring additional municipal planning approvals. And with that, I will turn it over to, oh, no, not yet. Sorry, Dale. One last one. Building Code Act amendments, municipalities do not have the authority to create or enforce their own construction standards. So this is really just reinforces the notion that precludes municipalities from passing bylaws that dictate certain construction or demolition standards for buildings and encourages municipalities to continue to rely on the minimum standards that are set out in the building code. Doesn't necessarily apply to us. It more specifically applies to some of those large and fast identified growing municipalities that were using green standards or environmentally sustainable standards to preclude development from happening. So the province has come forward and said, you know, you're not allowed to do that anymore. You're not allowed to use those standards to prevent development from moving forward. That also speaks to why our urban design guidelines are just guidelines and we can't actually require them through the form of a bylaw. So now I will pass it over to Mr. Langlois.
Thank you, Mrs. Beggs. So a couple of the changes on the Development Charge Act. So the first being currently development charges for, well, all development charges on all types of properties are paid when the building permit is issued. So one of the changes that will be, I don't know, we don't have the exact date that it's going to take effect, but for residential development, development charges won't need to be paid until the owner takes occupancy. So really, the impact on us is going to be a little bit of interest lost. If it takes 3-4 months to build a house, it's just going to take a little bit longer until we collect the money. So it's not going to be a major impact on us. Where it is going to impact us is just the administrative work on keeping track of everything. Because before it was easy. When the developer comes in, pays the building permit, they pay everything at once. Now we just got to make sure that we track everything and make sure we're getting that money upon occupancy. Next slide. Okay, so this one doesn't really impact us, but it is a change. Exemption of development charges on long-term care homes. So if there is ever one built in the town of LaSalle, any portion of a building that's intended for use as long-term care home will be exempt from development charges. Next slide. Okay, this one, the definition of capital costs. So this could potentially be a big one. Right now, the definition of the capital cost, including development charges, includes the cost of land. So for example, if we're widening a road for growth, we can include the cost of the land that we need to purchase to widen that road. So they may exclude that in the future. It hasn't happened yet, but if they do, that could reduce our development charge. And when development charges are reduced, we pay that through our tax rates. So that could potentially have a rather large impact on our development charges moving forward, but nothing's been officially announced at this point in time. Next slide. Okay, the ability for rental housing and institutional development to pay a development charge earlier than the bylaw requires. So currently, they can pay them in 6 equal installments. This just allows them to pay them upfront if they'd like. This doesn't really apply to us at this point in time, but it is one of the changes. Next slide. Removal of interest for legislated installments for rental housing and institutional development. Again, this doesn't really impact us, but in the future, currently, if there is deferral, we can charge on the payments, we can charge interest on them. It looks like they'll be getting rid of that. So we'll still collect the money, we just can't charge interest on them. But again, we don't really have a lot of that happening in the town of LaSalle, so that's not really gonna impact us too much. Next slide. Simplified process to amend development charge bylaws to reduce charges. So if we ever decide we wanna reduce our development charge fee, rather than having to go through the whole development charge background study, this allows us to not go through that whole process, and we can just reduce them. It only applies if we're reducing the development charge, not if we're increasing. So, for example, if the land is determined that we have to exclude it from the development charge calculation, we can redo the calculation, and then we don't have to go through the whole background study again. We can just do it fairly quickly. And then last, defining local services in the regulations. So this is a change. Right now it's not defined. So what local area development charges, it's not consistent from municipality to municipality. So this change is gonna just basically standardize everything and determine what can be charged in a local area versus what can't. It'll just, all the municipalities that have local area development charges will be consistent. And we have a couple of those. We do have a couple of local area development charges. And then the last slide, I've kind of mentioned this already, but the most significant financial impacts of the town of LaSalle, obviously if the cost of land is excluded from development charge calculations, that's going to lower our development charge. So it'll be, good for the developers. They're going to pay a lower charge, but for the existing taxpayers in the town, they're going to be paying, we're going to be using their taxes to pay for the purchase of land related to growth. And then just potential increase in town resources resulting from the deferral of residential development charge collection until occupancy. I don't see us needing at this point any additional resources, but we'll kind of see how it goes and how, if we start really booming and there's a ton of residential development coming, it might take some additional resources. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Councillor Reno.
Thank you, thank you, Your Worship. I guess everything in your presentation from the finance side, the one thing I heard was about the roads and the cost of the roads having to be borne by the taxpayer down the road. I'm just wondering, considering all of our work that we're planning on doing on Malden Road is from DCs in the past, this will not affect anything that's going to go on Malden Road. However, it may affect things going the opposite way, like when we extend Ream Road out to Sandwich West Parkway. By then, that could be a cost we have to incur, whereas right now, are we okay with Malden Road, with the plans that we have?
Yep, anything that we've collected in the past that has a road calculation in it, we're okay. Just in the future, it's only the land portion, so the actual construction cost is still included in there, the construction cost of the road and the storm sewers and whatnot, the growth-related components, but the land that we have to purchase to put the road on, that's not gonna be included. Potentially. It's not official at this point in time.
No, thank you, I appreciate that. I mean, we've got a lot of work going up through Howard Bouffard eventually, so I mean, that's just something to be ready for.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments? Deputy Mayor Capetta?
Thank you, Worship, to either of my learned colleagues, and I realize that neither of you have a crystal ball, and I can only base it on There's no regulations right now. So in my old hat, it would have been when the Controlled Drugs and Substances Act was challenged by the medical marijuana legislation. There was no regulations for medical marijuana, and every drug case stalled because the regulations did not exist and were not consistent with existing legislation. So looking at that, I'm just wondering what our plan as a municipality is on a go-forward basis should regulations come out that are divergent from the position of the interpretation of the legislation to move building forward. And again, I just want to bring that up, having experienced it myself, but if you don't have the answer, I understand, but I'm just kind of curious to better understand how you produce legislation without regulations, knowing that this has happened in the past and has created a maelstrom for the legal community to deal with the problems that well-meaning people have found themselves in.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, it's a really good point, and I guess it's more of like just a commentary rather than a question. It's you know, it's not lost on me. We're still waiting for regulations that enforce Bill 23, which was passed in 2022, I believe. So there's, like you said, there's no crystal ball in terms of determining when those regs will come out. And, you know, just to your question about, you know, if the regs supersede or undermine the legislative intent of, you know, why the amendments were put in place in the first place, I think the answer to that is it just gets resolved through case law, through the courts, right? I think you just have to kind of wait and see how that goes.
Supplementally, Your Worship. So again, having gone through this myself, and then as a constable making lots of money getting to court, what's the anticipated impact it could have on our staff doing the right thing, interpreting the legislation to the best of our ability, and then a regulation not aligning with a standard on Province of Ontario interpretation? Do we have some plan just down the road? Again, I just don't want to see your work bottled up because the province has not released regulations. I guess it's sort of, again, looking down the road to say, what are we going to do if?
Yeah, I don't really have an answer to that question. A lot of hypotheticals there, I think, but it's good to turn our minds to that if and when that does come to pass.
And also, our consultant is very helpful, Watson. They do these for hundreds of municipalities, and they keep us on the loop. Any changes, any projected changes, how they think it might impact the different municipalities. So they really give us the Coles Notes version of any legislation that comes out or anything that they're expecting that might impact the town. You know, we're working on our development charge study right now, actually, so it'll be ready in the near future, the draft. So it's interesting timing for this, but yeah, they're great to work with. They're really keeping us in the loop.
Thank you. No other questions? I have just a couple. Your slide on setbacks. I'm just trying to understand. So currently our setback side yard is 5 feet. And someone could come in and say they want to have 4.5, or I think it's 4.5, right? And there's just, that's it, here you go? So, okay. I'm just trying to understand why, if that's, why wouldn't everyone just come and ask for that then?
Yeah, I think again, the intent is to reduce the amount of applications that have to be filtered and processed through the Committee of Adjustment. And I think the intent is that the 10% is really minor, is really considered minor and should meet the tests of a minor variance and shouldn't really have to go to the committee in the first place. I think that's the thinking. But again, the regulations will spell out what it is and what it means and which provisions that specific 10% threshold applies to. Like, it could be that, you know, perhaps it would only apply to rear yard setbacks or interior side yard setbacks and not lot coverage. Like, we really have to wait and see what the reg says. But to your point, if you can just get more anyways, why not just ask for more? And we're probably going to see a lot of that.
Okay. My next question was regarding DC charges, and the comment was that we now might not collect until occupancy. So my question is, that would apply to condos as well, I'm assuming, and I'm just trying to understand, does that mean occupancy of every unit? Or we've done it in the past where we've granted occupancy on certain floors, so then do we have to start tracking which floors now? Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we've actually started to have conversations about this internally with Dale, our CBO, myself, and Tano, to talk about what this means and what it will look like when it comes to pass and what administrative changes we need to make. So we're starting to iron out those scenarios, and really the trickiest scenario is for condo buildings. It's not so much of a problem necessarily for lower density stuff, it's more of an issue for condos. The good thing is that everybody's gonna have to figure out how to make this work, because it's province-wide. But administratively, it does present a bit of a problem.
Okay, thank you. And my last question regarding DC charges again, you said we can reduce them. So does that mean if we were ever to do, which we did a few years ago, which was waive DC charges for a certain amount of time for a certain type of building, or if we were to put in a community improvement plan that somehow gave a discount on DC charges, we would no longer go through the other process? It's just kind of like, here you go?
That's correct. Yeah, we don't have to go through the whole development charge background study and have the mandatory meetings and whatnot. If we're increasing them, we have to. If we're decreasing them, we don't.
Okay, thank you. If there are no other questions, the recommendation is just to receive the report this evening. Moved by Deputy Mayor Capata, support by Councillor Burns, all in favor? That carries. Item 4 is request for a noise bylaw exemption for nighttime work on the Sandwich Roundabout, and we have our Manager of Engineering, Mr. Capucci.
Thank you. Mayor, members of council, the report here tonight is regarding a noise exemption for the roundabout work at Sandwich West Parkway and Heritage. The reason why we need this exemption is the roundabout itself and the legs leading into the roundabout are concrete. And with the weather and the other constraints around concrete, in particular heat and sunlight, we want to give the contractor every opportunity to place the concrete so that we don't have any issues or failures. And this type of exemption is pretty typical when you're dealing with concrete structures and pavements. The time of the year isn't too bad, and talking with the contractor, he believes that they might not even need the exemption, just maybe for a couple hours in the morning. So instead of a 7 o'clock start, they might be looking at a 5:30 or a 6 o'clock start. But with this exemption, this would give them the flexibility should they need to work during the night or come in early to do some saw cutting. The exemption would be looking at probably in 3 weeks' time based on where they're at today. The road portion of the roundabout is really the only thing we need the exemption for. Most of the sidewalks and all the curbs and all the other works within the roundabout area would be done by the time they're doing the final concrete layer on the roadway. And that, again, I said, we're probably at a 3-week window right now. And yeah, the amount of, the actual days, also we don't know because it's too far ahead in the schedule, but when we do know the dates, we would be notifying the residents within the areas that would be impacted by the noise. And again, the noise would likely just be saw cutting and trucks reversing. There isn't many other pieces of equipment out there going to be making too much noise for this kind of work. If there's any other questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Worship. I had 2 calls on this. The first person said, get it done. And the second person said, when will I know? So I think you've answered that. And again, the only question I have on the what type of noise is, just to make sure that I understand, it's going to be the backup tones for trucks, the sound of truck engines, and saw cutting. From a layman's perspective, I think I know the type of tool you're describing, but can you just describe that tool so I can better understand, so I can respond to the resident as to, and they were very specific in the number of decibels plus or minus that you expect these tools to be using.
Okay, through you, Madam Mayor, the saw cutting is literally a saw on a like it's like literally like a push buggy. The noise is loud, but it's not over a long duration for the saw cutting because it's literally just cutting in certain sections. So we'd be talking probably about, I don't know, an hour at most of intermediate like noises where they're lining up the saw, cutting it, stopping, moving it, doing another one, and going along the pavement with that. The beeping of trucks backing up is pretty typical to any other triaxle or any other type of equipment that you'd be seeing out there. And the decibel ratings, I'm not too sure, but it'd probably be in the 80 range. They say 90, I think, is a jackhammer, and it's only a certain amount of time they can handle that type of decibel. This would be like, again, on and off, but that's probably roughly the ranges you're looking at.
Thank you, Worship. And just so I understand, this would be work and sound levels that would be coming out anyway to complete this project. So this is not a special addition to the project or something unique or something different. This is something that would happen at a different time regardless of consistence with when the work started.
Correct. So I mentioned that very briefly in the beginning, but correct. This is the exact same procedure they would normally do regardless, and they may not even need this exemption. They could probably get it done based on the working hours. Just comes down to temps and making sure that they're staying within the proper temps.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Any other questions? Okay. Move the recommendation, support by Councillor Richo Spagnolo. So Councillor Reno moved. All in favor? And that carries. Item 5, establish new site plan control bylaws. For the last time, our Supervisor of Planning Development, Mr. Burgess.
Good evening, Your Worship and members of council. The report before you tonight is with regards to the providing of an update to our site plan control process, or to our site plan control. The current bylaw was passed back in 1988. It was bylaw 4339, and upon inspection, we determined that it was in need for update. The proposed bylaw that we've written is in keeping with the changes in the provincial legislation, providing clarity to the types of developments which are going to be under site plan control, as well as those that will be exempt from site plan control. I'm available for comments or questions, and thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? We can't make it easy on him the last time. Oh, wow. In place before you started. Wow. All right. Well, if we have nothing to grill him with this evening, Deputy Mayor Capata.
Mr. Burgess, congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you, both council and administration, both present and in my beginning stages here in LaSalle. I really, and of course staff, I've had an amazing experience working with all of yous, and I am sad to leave, but I know everything's in good hands and will progress as I still am a resident.
Thank you again, and congratulations. Well, there is a recommendation. Oh, sure, Councillor Reno.
Just really quickly, a personal thing, Alan. I'm not going to comment on current administration, but in the past, whenever I would call the planning department, I don't know if anybody else has ever happened to them, it would go to voicemail. And it would go to voicemail a lot. And I don't know what happens nowadays. I try not to call. But I will tell you that if I ever needed something, I could call Alan, or I could stop by, and Alan was always here. And Alan always had an answer for me. And I want to thank you personally for helping me grow as a counselor, to give me some of the ammunition and the information that I've needed to take forward. You have been invaluable to me personally. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councillor Burns.
Alan, I think you and I started about the same year. I think you started ahead of me before I got elected in 91. I've seen you grow. I've seen you expand your knowledge and your understanding, and the care and the consideration that you took for not only members of staff that work with you or councils over the year, but with the average citizen. Believe me, over the years, I've received many, many compliments on, he's the only guy that can answer my question, good, bad, or indifferent. And that's what most people wanted, and I certainly thank you for that and wish you the best in your future with you and your wife. And I hope you have at least as many years of retirement as I have, at 79. So God bless you and thank you for your work.
Thank you.
Alan, I just wanted to take a moment to congratulate you and wish you all the best in your retirement. Thank you for your dedication to the town of LaSalle. It's been a pleasure getting to know you over the last 7 years, and I truly wish you an excellent and wonderful, healthy retirement.
All right. Well, did we move in support? It's okay. All right, if I can get someone to move the recommendation. Councillor Burns in support, Councillor Riccio-Spagnuolo all in favor, and that carries. We have our consent agenda with 6 items. Are there any items anyone would like to pull out to speak to directly? I do have a question on one before we move them all, if that's okay. The town of Kingsville has put in the opposition to Bill 17. And while I understand the intent of what they're asking for, is it something we would want to support? I find it a little confusing because it talks about needing development charges, but then in the other portion, it's really talking to the deferral of collection. So I'm not sure if it really hits the targets that we'd be wanting to, or if it's even something that I'm assuming was supposed to be submitted during the period of time where you could have comments. Is that correct?
Through you, yeah, I did see that, and I found it to be a bit peculiar. The commenting period has expired because the legislation has received royal assent. I don't think there's an ability to influence the regulations, so I'm not quite sure. What to make of it.
Thank you. I think we just receive it at this time then, unless anyone wants something different. If there's nothing anyone wants to pull out and we want to receive all 6 items? Anyone? Deputy Mayor Capata, support? Councillor Riccio-Spagnuolo, all in favor? All right, that's approved. Item J1, we have County Council highlights from the July 16th, 2025 meeting. Any questions or comments on those? If there is none, if we can just get a motion to receive. Moved by Councillor Burns, support by Councillor Riccio-Spagnuolo, all in favor? That carries. Questions and statements by council members? Councillor Riccio-Spagnuolo.
Thank you, through you, maybe to Peter or Michael. I've had a few residents reach out to me requesting, wondering if there can be garbage cans and recycle cans at the waterfront area, specifically near the boat dock. People are walking their dogs or themselves, and they have commented that there's a lot of pizza boxes and pop bottles that are on the ground. So themselves and their children have made an effort to clean it up on the behalf of the town, which is very kind. However, they're just wondering if we can get proper bins, such as like a recycle one, something larger that can fit a pizza box, like obviously a smaller pizza box, but things like that, just because they've seen an increase in garbage down there. So just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Any other questions or comments? Deputy Mayor Pata?
Thank you, Worship. Through you to, I think, Ms. Finero. I received an email from the director of the Royal Canadian Branch Legion 594. I'm not sure if you're aware of it. 594 is joining with another legion to do a ruck march to bring attention to homeless veterans. And they're coming from the Marintet Legion going out to Amherstburg, and they'd like to stop in the town of LaSalle. So it's been sent to me as I'm a member of the branch, and I simply want to put it in your hands for consideration for administration so that perhaps you could get back in touch with the member of the Legion. It is a community fundraiser. It's to raise awareness. They're walking through LaSalle anyway as they head off to Amherstburg. It would be nice if we could welcome these veterans into our community and have them down at River Dance. So I will send it to you and just simply acknowledge the fact that the Legion will be doing something within our community, connecting, Windsor, LaSalle, and Amherstburg to bring attention to the plight of homeless veterans. Thank you, Your Worship.
I don't think there's anything to add to that. You're good right now? Just letting them know?
Yep, just letting her know, Your Worship, and I'll send it to you and her so you both have it.
Okay. She was like, do I comment? Not? All right. Any notices of motion? All right. We have our report of our closed sessions. On July 24th, 2025, council moved into closed session in accordance with Section 239, Section 2 of the Municipal Act 2001 and received training under subsection 3.1 regarding strong mayor powers and received information under subsection 2H, being information supplied in confidence to the town from a third party. And can we do them together? Or do you need, okay. And then the second one was council moved into closed session in accordance with section 239, section 2 of the Municipal Act 2001, and received information under section 2C about a property within the Front Road District. During that meeting, council approved direction to administration. Next, we have bylaws, and we have just the 3 bylaws, and we're asking that the following bylaws be given a first, second, and third reading and finally passed. Bylaw 2025-070, being a bylaw to establish site plan control under section 41, subsection 2 of the Planning Act, RSO 1990, CP 13 as amended. 2025-071, being a bylaw to stop up, close, and sell an alley system running north-south, lying east of lots 1 to 3 and part of lot 710, except R1433997. Registered Plan 793, and an alley system running east-west lying north-south of lots 7 to 16 and lots 21 to 33, Registered Plan 793 LaSalle. And finally, 2025-072, being a bylaw to stop up, close, and sell part of an alley system running north-south lying west of lots 132 to 135, Registered Plan 849 of LaSalle. Councillor Reno, and support. Deputy Mayor Capata, all in favor? And that carries. And our confirmatory bylaw is bylaw 2025-073, be given a first, second, third reading and finally passed. Moved by Councillor Burns, support by Councillor Regis Spagnolo. All in favor? And that carries. We have a schedule of meetings below. We will see everyone in 2 weeks. Don't melt. Have a good night.